Hmm. I just had a loose paper. Oh, no. Strange.
Hey Chris, I had a quick question. It's yoga related.
Yes, brother.
You were asking me earlier if I had done yoga today, and I had not done yoga today, but the last 2 days I have been practicing, and I'm doing very basic movements, like a lot of the stretches that you taught us, like the arm rolls, neck rolls, and the leg rolls, like when you stand up and you kind of use your leg as a jump rope,
Yes, sir.
and a lot of the face stretches as well. And
Yeah.
so
Good for loosening up and just getting in tune with kind of coordination and stuff like that.
yeah, and so the basic movements I've done is that I've done it because of I've seen Johnny do it so many times. So I just said, you know what, let me just start doing those very basic motions. And so what he does is that he stands up straight, he waves his arms like this, like that, and then he goes like this. He kind of bends himself. He bends himself down where he lets his hands reach his toes,
Yeah.
and then he gets into like the downward dog, and then what's the one where you're like your the lower half of your body is down and then the upper half is up and
It
you're
sounds like
looking
you're
up.
describing a sun salutation.
A what?
It sounds like
Oh
a
yeah, maybe it
describing a
could
sun
be.
salutation.
Yeah.
He's going through a repeated movements of standing, down dog, back to standing again.
Hmm. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Total
no,
sun
for me,
salutation.
I really like that motion because for me it
Yeah.
really stretches out my back, and I
Mm-hmm.
also like the one where you kind of let your hands, like you lay on your hands like this. This would be the floor right here, and it stretches out your hands like that. And so my thing is that I noticed that my breathing, like when
Sorry,
you
I didn't see that. My video was on something else. What was the hand?
hold on, let me just show you with a demonstration. Like for example, I leave my arm like my hand like this on the floor.
Yeah, you step on your hand.
Yeah.
Got it.
And so when I do these motions, what I notice is that my breathing, I'm conscious of it, and I wonder to myself, what is the breathing, like the breathing does not, like I my breathing is doing something else and the movements are doing something else. There are times when I don't even breathe because, for example, if I'm like on downward dog, am I supposed to breathe out, exhale, or am I supposed to inhale?
Mm. Well, are you in my yoga Telegram group?
Yes, I am.
Have you done any of the? Did you notice that there was a pinned post in the Telegram group? Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, well, I have noticed a lot of I have noticed the pin on your Telegram group, and I've seen the notification, but I did not see it. No.
Okay, well, if you look through what I have posted in that Telegram group, they've all been valuable little videos. Maybe
Hmm.
I know you're really busy because I study AZD too, man. He's always putting out stuff, and life is
Hmm.
busy and this and that. When you're
Yeah.
traveling and when you can just play those videos, it will explain a lot of what I think about practice. And in some of those posts, I have playlists for my new YouTube playlists where I just kind of design new playlists, remove some videos, put some new,
Hmm.
organized a short and a long playlist. So the short playlist is, uh, 20 to 30 minute um, yoga flows. And the long one is like 40 to 60-minute yoga flows. And so that's going to be a lot more um, of the language of what to do with your body, when to inhale, when to exhale. Uh, Typically, in down dog, we hold it for several breaths. Many postures we hold for several breaths. Some postures we just move from pose to pose on an inhale or an exhale, like half a breath. That would be half a breath. So
Hmm.
it's half a breath, and that's called vinyasa. So there's a vinyasa is a movement to yeah is a movement to another position.
Hmm.
And then that's different from the position itself. So there's the movement into the pose, there's the pose, and then there's the movement out of the pose. Those
Okay.
should be seen as three separate things. So there's the breath that takes you into the pose. Then you hold the pose for some breaths.
Okay. Yes.
Then there's the breath or the half breath that takes you out of the pose, ideally into the next pose. So there's
Okay.
always a next, a next, a next, and that becomes a krama, Krama, krama. Krama is a sequence.
Karma.
So vinyasa krama is a sequence of transitions.
Okay.
I teach vinyasa krama, but there's more ancient vinyasa krama that comes from lineage. I've learned some, many, not all, obviously. I've learned several, and meaning I've learned set sequences passed down and memorize them such that I can just practice from memory and not watch anything. And that's where the adventure begins, brother, because then the only sound you have to accompany your stretching is the sound of your own breathing.
Wow.
The music of your movement is your breathing. And when you struggle with breathing, when it doesn't sound good, it's like listening to bad music. So what do you need to change about your movement? Or many people get discouraged or whatever. So it's good to learn some breathing up front. That's why you don't learn yoga from a book, learn from at least a video so you can hear the breathing, So my videos, so look in the Telegram for that.
I will. In fact, I'll look at it after this podcast's over. I'll definitely, I'm going to look at it.
And brother, I think I sent you a gift, didn't I? I sent
You
you a
did.
gift.
You sent me a whole list of breathing exercises.
Oh, is that what it was? It was breathing exercises.
I actually, funny, but today I actually checked out the first one because when you sent it to me, I hadn't received it. And I was going to text you saying, oh, Chris, it didn't go through. But I didn't want to bother you. So I was like, you know what? I'll let him know later. But then today when I checked, I was like, oh, there it is. It was on my drive. And I saw the first one and you were talking, you had your beard.
Wow.
And you were talking about how the tongue's positioned in your mouth, like it affects your breathing. And so what you want to do is you want to let it go as much as you can.
I'm letting it go right now. It's helping me listen.
Yeah. And that there's just that even now, like as a master as you are, you still have to continuously let go of your tongue because throughout the day we clench without realizing.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you were speaking about the diaphragm. Oh. And how that you want to feel it like
go on.
here.
I want to hear everything.
You said you basically it was a quick video. It was like 4 minutes. You said that basically when you breathe through your diaphragm, you want to feel it like right here. And
Right where?
Right here. You want to feel it like right below your chest, your rib cage.
Yeah, a lot of times if you can push your belly out like you were beer belly, and if you can coordinate the beer belly movement with the inhale, so make the inhale be a beer belly movement, and learn to coordinate the inhale with the beer belly movement as one and the same, then that's your diaphragm. And that's if you can just train yourself to breathe that way because your life has trained you to breathe another way.
Yeah, like we don't like it's crazy how I noticed that I never engage my belly at all. It's like it's even awkward trying to do it. It's like I have to constantly try to engage my stomach and it's so awkward. It's like backwards. When I breathe out, it expands and I'm like, what the fuck?
Exactly. It's just reversed. When you switch that pattern, it'll be great. And then it needs to be a daily dose of switching that pattern because it will revert the other way. As soon as you stop thinking about beer belly breathing, it doesn't happen. Now me, I do after, I don't know why, after so long, it's just, and the curse of some yogas, certain kinds of yogas, we don't need to go into it because there's no really yogis here. You're here, Ashtanga, Vinyasa, but basically most yoga, actually, most Hatha yoga in the West here in America talks about tightening your belly while you're stretching. Hold your belly in, pull your belly to your spine, navel to the spine, they say. And that inhibits relaxed breath because when your belly is tense, it's a more stressful breath. And relaxation. So good. Get into yoga, and man, that's exciting. Either way, I think that what you were saying about Mr. Hatzel and your experience points to a fact about all of us, that we are impressionable by our environments
Mm-hmm.
and
For sure.
we're influenced by the people we hang around.
Yes. Yes.
And to cherish our time period, and to cherish um, let's see how to say this. You know how like you have moments with yourself that
Mm-hmm.
when you really enjoy it. Like imagine some time that you get with yourself and you like really like that time. Like you're watching that video, you're like chilled out, or you're stretching and breathing, you're meditating, you're under the orange tree, picking an orange, eating a fresh orange on the grass you grew yourself. Like that's a nice moment with myself. And that's really pleasant. Like any moment at all, really, that you really like. And however many seconds that was, measure it, 10 seconds, an hour, one split second. Like there was some measure of time that you were really enjoying your life,
Yeah.
that you look forward to really enjoying your life. And really, every other moment is equally important.
Yeah.
All the other moments, is just as equally you're there as you are in the moment that you really like.
Yes.
The moments of sadness are just as many a second of sadness is a second of happiness also. It's all, but you only have so many seconds here,
Yes. True.
so the
So with
gratitude.
that, would you, well, this idea that's just coming to me is that most people, when they feel like, let's say, sadness, or they'd say they feel a negative emotion, instead of trying to resist it and escape it, do you think that they should just let it permeate them, like just sit in that
Process. The word
sadness?
is process.
Process, yes.
Process it like a computer.
Yeah, just
Process the emotion.
mhm. Let the
Process.
system feel it,
Let
like
the
really feel it though.
let the system process it.
Mm-hmm.
That involves feeling it, but it's really a computer processing data.
Yeah,
You're,
yeah. ZD was talking
you're
about this today on Lines, and
yeah, you're walking around with a biocomputer suit over your spirit.
we're
And
we're, we're robots.
you're a bio robot, and it's processing data. And your thinking is obscured by the whirlwind of all the processing. It's not efficient. It's not, some data gets corrupted along the way and misperceptions happen. So clearer perceptions,
Mm-hmm.
engram, that's exactly what an engram does. It distorts perception from the same information. People see the same information, get a different interpretation. If it was science, we just should measure it. And that's
Yes.
what words do. Words are measurements. So if we measure it different, we all have our own viewpoint, but it's colored by our beliefs, and that our beliefs, a truly clear individual would be free of beliefs outside of the known, don't rape, don't molest. And that's basically it, actually. Everything else has a context. And so you're carrying a biosuit around that's processing the information of your life. And relaxation is the process of processing. So practicing relaxing, if that's all you had to go on, if the Zoom stream cut out and the internet went out and all the satellites on the planet went out and you could never hear the end of my statement and all you heard was practicing relaxing, or if all you heard was me say practice relaxing, and obviously yoga is such a key ingredient in that. It's been very helpful for me, but I tell you, it doesn't mean that I don't experience even storms of emotions, torrents, torrential rain. I experience torrential emotions sometimes. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't affect my behavior, and that all of the dramas and all of the faults of other humans, I have a lot of those too. And I learn, just like in wrestling, I learned so many moves for so many attacks of the other person. I knew counters for their counters, for my counters, for that's called scrambling. When you scramble, that's like when you know each other's everything and you're rolling, and it's just like who's going to come out on top. It's who can get to the leg first. It's who's got the will, this and that. Same with yoga. If there's a body part that's achy, this or that, a lot of times it's something far away from the injury that's actually going to heal the injury, because the injury is the result of compensating because of something going on elsewhere in the body that we're not aware of. We're not acknowledging. We're numb to it. We're too comfortable with it the way it was. That's like a self-image thing too. We're too comfortable the way we saw ourselves, and that's where we resist seeing ourselves differently. It's uncomfortable. So, what was I talking about before those two analogies?
You were talking about that if the stream went out and that I took away anything, that you should keep in mind relaxing, and that that the biosuit, that we have a biosuit and it's just processing data.
Yeah, it's processing data and relaxing.
And then you were talking about injuries and what injuries are,
mm-hmm.
And that an injury is in a way also data,
Yeah. It's the data of your life, and when the emotion, isn't processed, it's obscuring your perceptions and it's bending your judgments, and which is creating havoc in your life. It creates more cause effect that you'll need to resolve later. That's called karma. So you create karma for yourself when you act out of emotions, because that's another way of saying that's acting unconsciously. Because emotions, unless you're choosing them, then you're acting out of something you didn't choose. So an actor would create an emotion and then act out of they chose it. A person, a human living, is reacting, and the emotion, however justified, the action will be filtered by the emotion. When the emotion passes, guaranteed 99.9% of the time, you would choose something a little different, at least, if not a lot different. So it's not that emotions are the enemy. Emotions are signals. And a healthy human, the genetics has some emotional reactions that are pro-survival historically for the genes. And your acculturation, or your nurture, nature versus nurture, like how you were brought up, and which is less about who brought you up. It's more about just how you processed your upbringing. The upbringing is in your system. It doesn't exist anymore. So it's an internal relationship. Even with mom and dad, it's an internal relationship with mom inside, dad inside. Even while they're alive, while they're talking to me, it's their voice goes inside and I relate with it inside relative to my insides, how I see myself. That's where you see yourself around Johnny one way, you see yourself differently around another guy. Hence, I recommend Jordan Soucy instead of New Jersey.
Wait, say that again. John Ducey. What's that?
Oh man, that was so poetic. Hence, I recommended Jordan Soucy instead of New Jersey.
Oh yes, okay, yeah, Jay Sussy.
Yeah, Jay Soucy. Yeah, Jordan Soucy is his name. Is how you say his name?
Oh, okay. Yeah, wow, what a unique name. Actually, I've never actually heard that name before.
Yeah, for a guy from Idaho, it's pretty exotic.
Okay. Chris, there's so much I want to say right now. When you were saying about how, like you were saying, different people, we see ourselves different depending on who we're with. When I'm speaking with you and I'm like, let's say around you, and I hear your communication, it brings me a lot of relaxation. It's very interesting because you sort of have this vibration where you're always relaxed and you always seem again, this is just my perception, but you always seem like you have a very calm energy, and I like it. I like, and you make me fascinated to want to know yoga and everything. I know I say this a lot though, but it's true. I see myself as being a very, good yoga master, yogi because of you. And, I really do cherish when we communicate to each other.
Of course, brother, I do too. And that's why I like your evolution, because it's a reflection of me and it shows me, it reminds me, the fate of men and women on this planet is very sad. And
What, that we
I'm
die?
very sad about the fate of men and women, almost every man and woman on this planet.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, it is.
yeah, and when I find a brother that's all about it, regardless of yoga interest, I think it's great. Yeah, practice, talk about it. Listen, the more you stick around, that's why I don't ever get off lines then. The more you stick around, the
No,
more
no.
you'll realize that what you talk about becomes real. So just keep talking about it until it becomes real. I don't
Yeah.
care.
And something else you said sparked this as well when you were saying about like instead of actors, they generate an emotion and they're acting instead of reacting to life. That's kind of what I want to do, like with my characters. Like, that's why I think being an actor would be really cool. Because I mean, I see Arash as a very strong actor, and I think that that's something amazing. Because that triggered like a fantasy in my head where I'm like, okay, let's say if life is giving me a lot of shit and I start to feel a little crazy, instead of reacting like that, I will act like, let's say, like the Joker, but not in a way where I'm unethical and I'm hurting people, but in a way where I'm just funny and I'm just gonna have a good time with the fact that I feel like I'm fucking going crazy, and
Yeah,
just
bro.
just let it happen. Don't resist it, and just be like, all right, haha, and just kind of fuck with people's expectations, a little bit. So that was just a movie scene in my head that I could create. Like next time, like I feel like that.
You are
That's
safe to do this.
yes,
You are safe to do this. And as you learn martial arts, as we begin to teach martial arts, you will feel safer and safer and safer to express and explore all of the patterns of behavior outside of your identity that you have been acting like all your life. So you can break patterns and choose maybe from a palette of new patterns and create your care actor.
care actor, nice. I like that. I like that.
You're doing it. You're doing it. Go back as if you ever had time and look up Chris DeVilbus on YouTube. And what you'll find is my original testimony for AZD. At the time, AD.
AD, okay.
Mr. Rashdi Bazaar, Seductive Instinct. You'll see the testimony and you'll hear how I sound. And after a year, you're every bit as far as me, if not further. So just keep going, man. It's all good. We go through these. I've been through things. I could tell you stories. You don't need to hear my stories. We've
I
all
wouldn't
had.
mind hearing them.
Okay. Which
I mean, it's your podcast, I mean, we're on your time.
What? Tell us a story. Well, all these stories inevitably they're going to involve women. So
Oh, my favorite subject.
I'll be respectful, but I also have female audience, and this isn't, and it's on my
Oh, I
yoga.
see. I see.
So maybe I won't speak as I'll speak as we speak when there's females in the audience. This is just what we do. So
Nice.
I remember um, investing everything I had into my life, everything, and I inherited a little bit. Some reason my parents saw fit to give me some after I got a master's degree and wrestled my life away. I trained like a gladiator, so fuck your health, really. Like, fuck a concussion, fuck a torn whatever, this or that, tape it up and let's go. And um long story short, I invested all of that into my development and more. And then I sold everything I had to go to India. And I came back and then I exploited the maximum extent of my credit just to live while I built up a business around yoga. So when I was fully leveraged, I went on a drive to start my yoga tour through Albuquerque and Dallas and Houston and Oklahoma, not in that order, in whatever order, and over across to Florida, whatever, where I was familiar. And on the way, I'm driving. I cross the Arizona border. I don't realize this. I have a couple grams of marijuana with me. I just smoked up of 10 minutes earlier. I don't even realize I crossed the border. I don't know if I just said that. Boo. Now, right before this, I had shared a video. I was so passionate about AZD, talking about this or that, feminism destroying families. And I'm like, yeah. I share it. And he was big on Facebook videos at the time. My yoga teacher, I didn't realize, because we had a relationship. I had stayed with this man. He had helped me tremendously through hard drug times of my life, where his yoga that I would use for myself freed me in my own time and space. And wow, the gift of a home yoga practice. You'll adore your yoga teacher because, wow, I freed myself with what you taught me. Maybe you could have learned something similar, a freeing practice from other people. So what's the personality of the teacher? Who are they? You get to know over time when the illusion kind of goes. And I didn't realize he was a feminist. And his friends that I had hung out with were feminists. They were like a year or two younger than me, but I was a different kind of guy growing up, whatever. That was great. So he had a big problem with this anti-feminist video I had shared, and I don't know why I didn't see the flags before this, and I did some interviews with him on my yoga YouTube channel. Maybe some people watching have seen it. He calls ahead and gets some of my yoga events canceled. Says this guy is this or that, mistreats women, blah blah blah. Blah, blah, blah. He's got his yamas and niyamas out of line. That's the wording he says. Oh, you're on camera. And where's my LED remote? Do I have an LED remote?
It's right there.
Oh, whoa, oily feet. Almost booby trap, just testing me there. Pass. Arslan, what's up? Just came here. All right. Yes, lighting is better always. Okay. So I get a phone call from AZD talking up about stuff. Real cool, because at the time I had known him like a year and a half. Of course, I was known a little bit. I've been around a year and a half and gone to everything. And I think we're just talking business. But the siren and lights go on behind me. And so I pull over, and when I'm like, I got a cop come, whatever, pull me over. And he's like, all right, well, call me right back, whatever. As I get off, I hang up and I notice yoga event notifications from Facebook canceling. Mind you, I had no money and I leveraged myself fully. And I was relying on these 8 yoga events I had scheduled through cold calling while I stayed with Brian Casella, BC. And 4 yoga events, boom, 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 canceled. Facebook of notifications. I'm like, fuck. I'm getting pulled over. The cop pulls me out. I'm honest kid, whatever. You got any drugs, any marijuana? Yeah, I got a couple grams. Okay, step out of the car, please. You know why I pulled you? Blah, 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 blah. Your license is expired. Your insurance, please. Your insurance is expired. I probably got the order of those things wrong. Basically, my insurance was expired. My license was expired. Why? Because I had no money and I was trying to drive to get money to get my license good and my everything good. And I was not thinking. You may ask, Chris, why were you smoking weed and then admitted to this, like, and then you knew that your license, and then you knew that your insurance, and you were at the last string of your last straw of what you had going for you. And you did all that and got your car impounded and dropped off at a hotel and had a felony and blah, 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 blah. Like, I'm just like, oh my God, what the fuck? Tripping out in the middle of this Quartzsite, Arizona, 2 hours west of Phoenix. You know, the kind of place where you see the galaxy at night, and it gets really cold at night, but then it gets really hot in the summer, in the day, any time of year. In the day, it gets really hot. It's so sunny. That's where I saw Dome Rock. See my Dome Rock documentary on YouTube. Dome Rock, bald like me. This mountain that I had to drive past over and over on the way back and forth to Los Angeles, through Phoenix, this mountain that I was like, I'm going to climb that one day. And I pull over and I drive towards it and I realize how far it is. And I say, I'm going to climb that. And 6 months later, I pull over and I drive as far as I can towards it. There's no trail. And I climbed that. Actually, I'm missing once. I climbed the rock before it. It was so far. I remember I climbed this baby rock. I'm like, this is too far. And then the next time I drive and I find a way and I get closer to the actual mountain, foot of the mountain, and I climb this thing, and it's really stupid, actually. Let's talk about stupid moments. I climbed this dome rock, this mountain that's so high up in the desert, like 2 hours, 2.5 is past Quartzsite. It's like 2.5 hours west of Phoenix. That you get to the top of it, man, you're on top of the world, man. And there is a couple of burial sites at the top of this mountain. And some rocks they stacked, whatever. It's really windy up there. And I'm looking, and there's some mountains in the distance. It's the desert. And I yell. That's where I created the yelling practice, and nobody can hear me. And I decided to go down a different way than I went up. And don't ever do that, man. Because you just don't know if there's cliffs that you couldn't have gotten up on. And now you're stuck. And the rocks start sliding out from you. And you're sliding down this cliffside. And you don't know if you're going to die just to climb a bald mountain. And you circle around and spiral around this mountain 2.5 times to get down back to your car right before sunset. You could have died because you made a dumb decision to go down, not the way you went up. So don't ever do that on a big, risky mountain. And talk about dumb things. So I get pulled over, the felony. It becomes my creation. I started the silent flute. When I got to Texas, finally, I got to Houston. It's my parents' house. I stayed there for however long. I stayed there for several months over the years. It helped. And I used it. And I built my business around that. And my girlfriend, I stayed there. In BC, I stayed there. And I took what people give me. And I gave as good as I could. And that was the exchange. And that's just what it is. And that's what when you invest in yourself, you give yourself, and you just, you leverage what you can because you trust in your goodness. So what people give you, you take it, and you offer and you follow through, and that's where you see the expression of your karma. What do you follow through with? What don't you? That's just you, man. No one can live for you. No one can die for you. You come this far. So that's a podcast. That's pretty cool. Direct Sun, what's up, Direct Sun? Always appreciate Direct Sun. It's funny. Master Myself is on. Always mastering himself. Myself, I'm mastering myself also. Direct Sun is on. What's up? Arslan. Miguel Omar. Elo. Who else do we have? Elo, it almost sounds like you say like, hello. Hello. Miracle J. Miracle is on. Let's talk about the power of yoga. Hey, Yogi Chris. Talk about sunlight, commenting yoga. Yogi Chris. Power of yoga to activate your character. You also need wisdom. Because if you just go and do yoga and like dissolve yourself, then you come back as just whatever the impression of your environment creates. To just go so yin with yoga, but to just go yang with creating yourself, you're forgetting that you're carrying a lot. You are already a formation channelized pattern. Your channelized consciousness. Your consciousness has been channelized into your identity. Channeled. Maybe channelized is not the right word. Man, Shamir, he pieced out. That was a mistake. That was a big mistake. So, Who could speak on the power of yoga? Who's been on the ninth limb? Let's go with ninth limb people. Anybody been practicing ninth limb yoga? We got a bunch of people on. We got Maradra. Maradra is on. She's on the women's ninth limb. Mindless of time type of activity. Mindless of time type of activity where time feels irrelevant are just as important as other money we experience. Other moments we experience, probably. Yeah, man, the magic of the moment. But that's, you need to separate the feelings. There's a bliss, a yoga bliss. Yoga bliss. Let's talk about yoga bliss. Yoga bliss, Yogananda, yoga is a cessation of the fluctuations of the systems of the mind. A cessation means to stop, or a stoppage of that which was in movement. Cessation of the fluctuations, meaning erratic patterns, or just maybe patterns of movement. You could say fluctuate. We could define all these. I could look these up. Cessation of the fluctuations of the systems, meaning like an organized process, things that repeat, of the mind. Cessation of the fluctuations of the systems of the mind. So when your mental design fluctuates, that's not yoga. When your mental design holds up, is that yoga? Well, something happens when you design your mind because you must let go of part of your mind. Yoga helps you let go. Wisdom helps you design. So combining these two, you activate your character more fully. You take in your sensory neurons and you output your motor neurons. The mistake is, in the environment we go yin, so we input the sensory neurons and we become what we sense. Or we become what the senses activate in us. Yin. You like that one, huh? And that's the secret of lovemaking too. So far as I know. I mean, I have books. I don't read them though. I just look at the pictures. Adrian, if you come back here, I'm going to give you one of these books. If I'm still here and I still have it. Because then I'll buy another one for myself. I'll be all jealous. I'll be like, now Adrian's going to read it. I got to. All right. So anybody that wants to speak on the power of yoga, I invite you. Just raise your hand. Let me know. Fernando was just here and participated in the men's yoga conclusion. I kept it general for everybody. It was hot outside, direct sunlight, actually. I don't know if she's still on. She probably quit. She's always quit. No, she's there. Fuck. Forgive me for everything I ever said negative about you, direct sun. I take it all back. Power of yoga. What's the word? Oh, what do you got? Something brief.
Oh, I was just going to say the power of yoga to transform your entire life and mind when you decide to.
When you decide to, it's a decision. And, you know, I know the experience of having such a meek outer voice and yet having such certainty inside of something that I had to seclude myself from everybody just to exercise my free will. Because would I be around anybody, my voice were too meek and feeble to stand up for my greater good. And I knew that about myself enough that I knew I had to put myself in an environment. And that's when I moved to Florida. And that's what I did. I held up and I did what I wanted. And that was a mantra. I can do what I want. And man, I did foolish things there. Oh, man. But I found my freedom, and within whatever, and I keep seeking freedom, and then we keep going, and I'm still freeing. You know, I said this phrase to AZD, my teacher, the other day. And I said, I caught myself say this phrase. It's interesting. I said to somebody, I think, are you still moving? Just think about that. Are you still moving? Just think about that. Are you still moving? You're moving still, right? You get how we use language? That's what language does. It pushes and pulls us emotionally and experientially. So learn to put, and then not just the words themselves, but the grammar and the syntax. He moves people, but you need their attention. So you become attractive. So then you find your ethics, because when you become attractive and you become influential, you start to see people act out how you actually are telling them to be. And you don't realize how wicked a lot of your intentions are. And it's not you. It's just you adopted weird things, perversions of society, because society is a feminist, socialist, communistic, fucking alien, reptilian, fucking slave society. So of course there's weird, wonky beliefs that permeate everywhere. And before globalization, people only knew what they knew. And still people only knew what they know what they know. Until you explore and free yourself of your conscious, your channels. But you don't want to, then you want to keep up ethics. So there's, fuck, how many times am I going to say, back to back to back to back? It's important to be part of a sangha, a spiritual community. Because as a man, you want women to follow you. And as a woman, you want to be following a man that has a community. And this will help you activate, because you'll feel safety that's needed there. And obviously, the tighter and the doper and the better the group, the better the people, the better the relationship, the better intercommunications. Like, that's all communication is what goes on in the group. That's what keeps it together. And values. When you get down to the nitty gritty, bare bones, literally the bones of communication are going to be the values. That's the structure we move with. That's how we can move as a group, make decisions, follow the leader. There's values. And those are things that I'm beginning to understand more and more. It's such a deep term, a concept for me. Maybe it's easy to other people, but we're all on our path. And our path for me, my path is opening my path. That's the path for me. Open. The path was too channeled. My path is too narrow. But I'm not like a tranny fucking, I'm not going that way. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm okay with, you know what I'm saying? Like, where's the discernment? There needs ethics and values in here. There's not just a meat body, biosuit, push button, sense pleasure, feel pain, doing whatever. So I don't know if there's more to say really on that. If there was, we got an audience. Maybe I just end it. It's been a while. It was really powerful having you on, Adrian. Would anybody else like to say anything? Feels as if I've been talking for way too long all of a sudden. Snapped out of my own trance. Whoa, what time is it? Let's check YouTube if there's any comments. And thanks. A few likes there. I didn't share it to Facebook, I just realized. All right. Yeah, I get what you mean, making the path wider, because, and then choosing the choice, a great musical piece. I love music, and I select for certain qualities that I rarely go into detail about, because I never, just maybe one day. But the unpredictability of the next note or the next change, and yet keeping it pleasant and pleasing, it's really nice. And it is so for the character also. Your life is like your music. You sing the song of your life. People love that. People love that analogy, right? because it's maybe true on higher dimensions that we are just frequencies and notes and colors skipping through life on lily pads like cosmic frogs, you know, playing the music of our life. So, but the mundane, you know, that band that every song sounds the same, that's the channeled pattern that we get into with our life. So do we have to be an orchestra? Do we have to just listen to, man, there are some great single solo musicians that just skip all around, but keep it together. And they don't, some are way too complex. Some are just simple. Like, man, I remember this one guy is like autistic almost, and he makes these like half retarded songs, but it's so good. His strumming is almost off, but it's so raw, man. It's like Bob Dylan, but if Bob Dylan were like Mozart, but so really basic with his chords. I don't even know how to describe him, man. In the end, it's depressing because he's like 300 songs about a girl that he lost. It's the same girl. That's how pathetic. But the music, the art of thinking, his art is so, and the way he does it with only 3 chords is brilliant. You know, so make it art and then snap out of your life and look at your life. Are you living for ethics? Are you going for something? As a woman, what are you going for? As a man, what are you going for? Right? Come around to the silent flute. Come around to Lion's Den. Silent flute, definitely for the women. Lion's Den, guys, depending who you are. Everybody here I see should be on Lion's Den. Jirito should be on silent flute. We got the yoga groups, Telegram. Hit me up. This was really long. I didn't click record on Zoom, actually. So the podcast is streamed to YouTube. You can catch all of it there. I would say subscribe. You should do that. And thanks, everybody. See you next time.